The CIA spent 4 years trying to put this man in prison. The FBI investigated him for money laundering. The Australian government changed their laws just to stop him. Why? Did he rob a bank? Did he forge money? No. Stefan Mandel did something much more dangerous. He did the math. In 1992, this Romanian economist looked at the Virginia state lottery and realized a fatal flaw. He didn't buy a ticket hoping to win. He bought every single ticket. 7.1 million combinations. He didn't gamble. He bought the game itself. This is the story of the man who killed luck. To understand the heist, you have to understand the hunger. Stefan Mandel was not a criminal mastermind. He was a simple accountant living in Communist Romania in the 1960s. His salary? The equivalent of $88 a month. It wasn't enough to live. It was barely enough to survive. Most people in his situation accepted their fate. They kept their heads down. But Mandel had a superpower. He understood probability. He spent his nights analyzing theoretical probability papers written by 13th century monks. He wasn't looking for magic numbers. He was looking for a leak in the system. And he found one. He created a number-picking algorithm. I won't bore you with the calculus, but here is the simple version. If you play 6 numbers, your odds are astronomical. But Mandel's formula allowed him to predict 5 of the 6 winning numbers accurately, reducing the millions of combinations to just a few thousand. He gathered his friends, pooled their meager savings, and bought the tickets generated by his formula. They aimed for the second prize. Instead, they won the jackpot, the equivalent of 18 years of salary, in one night. He didn't buy a luxury car. He bought his freedom. He bribed officials and fled the country. The wolf was out of the cage. Mandel landed in Australia, a free man. But he wasn't satisfied. He looked at the Western lotteries and realized his Romanian algorithm was too small. He needed something bigger. This is where it gets really interesting. He stopped trying to be smart with formulas. He decided to be brute. Let's do the math. Imagine a lottery where you have to pick 6 numbers from 1 to 40. The total number of possible combinations is exactly 3.8 million. Now, imagine the jackpot reaches $10 million, and a ticket costs $1. Do you see it? If you buy every single combination, it costs you $3.8 million, but the payout is $10 million. Net profit, $6.2 million. It's no longer gambling. It's arbitrage. But there was a problem, a logistical nightmare. How do you physically fill out 3.8 million slips of paper? Mandel built an army. He created a syndicate. He convinced investors to give him money. He built a warehouse filled with dot matrix printers and computers. While the authorities were sleeping, Mandel's robots were printing luck. He won. Again. And again. 12 times in Australia. The government panicked. They changed the laws. They banned computer-printed tickets. Mandel was forced out, but he had one final masterpiece in him. February 1992. The Virginia State Lottery. Mandel scouted the entire globe. Virginia was the perfect target. Only 7.1 million combinations. Cheap tickets. And a jackpot that had just hit $27 million. The math was perfect. But the logistics were impossible. He was in Australia. The tickets had to be bought in Virginia in person with cash. He printed 7.1 million slips in Sydney and shipped them via courier to the US. His team had 72 hours to process 7 million tickets through retail terminals at gas stations and grocery stores. They blocked the lines. They bought tickets for hours straight. But then, disaster struck. Under the sheer volume, the retail terminals began to crash. Stores ran out of paper. Some simply closed their doors. When the deadline hit, Mandel's team had a terrifying realization. They had only managed to buy 5.5 million tickets. There were 1.6 million combinations they didn't buy. This is the nightmare scenario. They had spent millions of investors' dollars, but winning was no longer guaranteed. It was a game of Russian roulette. If the winning numbers were in the pile, they didn't buy. They would lose everything. Bankruptcy, prison, ruin. The drama began. Live on TV. 8, 11, 13, 15, 19, 20. Mandel's team in Virginia frantically searched through the stacks in a smoke-filled room. The silence was deafening. And then, a shout. They found it. Ticket A1147. All 6 numbers matched. Not only did they win the $27 million jackpot, they won thousands of second and third place prizes because they held almost every winning combination. It was the perfect crime, and it was completely legal. The next day, the world exploded. The CIA, the FBI, and the IRS launched investigations. They dug through every record for 4 years. Do you know what they found? 0. Nothing. Mandel looked at the investigators and said, "Since when is being good at math a crime?" But the game was over. The U.S. changed the laws. Now, you cannot print your own tickets. The loophole is closed. Mandel slammed the door shut behind him. He took his millions and retired to a tropical island in the South Pacific. So, what is the lesson here? Luck is for the unprepared. Control is for the masters. Most people ask, how do I get lucky? The wealthy ask, how do I remove luck from the equation? Subscribe to understand the minds that shape our world. This is Ego and Empire.